I click start.
Yay.
Ready? Slate.
1, 2, 3.
Yum.
Woo! Tricky.
Hello.
Hi, how are ya?
I'm. Are you talking to me? Or are you talking to our third co-host, which is the audience?
Silence.
You're talking to Silence, our fourth one.
So sorry. Yeah,
I understand.
I am talking to you, Simon. How are you?
I feel good. I want to reference that episode previous that we recorded, and the one about the first half of Connection Disconnection. I feel as though by the end of that episode, both of us had this I'm feeling like I'm at an impasse, so I feel disconnected. And I feel as though I feel more free now.
Yeah.
And whatever I was carrying before, I'm no longer feeling as though I'm carrying it. So I'm excited to do this episode.
Yeah, and if you were to label what that was for you,
yeah,
because I felt it too.
Yeah.
I really felt it too.
Yeah.
What was that? Maybe just knowing it was crunchy and not wanting to swallow it.
I think it was a sour candy.
It's a sour candy.
I feel as though I was feeling burdened by the pressure of having to apply all the positive feedback that we received, of being funny and being all of those things, as well as just being the osmosis of existing in this environment of pandemic stuff, and numbers are on the rise, and I'm worried about when the next job is going to come.
Yes.
I'm very much a gig employee. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, being here and being our equipment took so long to set up today, and so stressed. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm no longer carrying that right now. Who cares? Fuck. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, I do, but I'm not
shed the layers away.
Yeah.
And we are new people as of 5 minutes ago.
Cool.
And I do feel that too, though.
Cool.
Yeah. Maybe we should start by talking about what we're doing here.
Yeah, and who we are.
If you are just listening for the first time, my name is Jake, and I'm a therapist in Toronto. And I'm sitting here with...
Simon. That's me.
Yay.
My name is Simon. I am a filmmaker. And welcome to episode 5.
This is episode 5.
Episode 5 of This Isn't Therapy. We both went low.
This is a podcast about all the things that are traditionally or normally talked about in a therapy room. Mm-hmm. And the premise of this podcast is we reach into the therapy room and we pull out all that juicy material. And we talk about it, we normalize it, we dissect it, and we get into it.
Yeah. We get such wonderful submissions, so thank you, everyone. Everyone who does submit gives their consent to have it be read on air.
Yeah, so any identifying information will be left out. And then our goal here is just to have fun, but not make fun.
Yeah. Oh.
Love?
Have fun, but yes.
I love that.
Love it or list it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, we're going to love it. We're going to keep it.
We're going to stay in the house. Hillary, we're staying in the house.
We're staying. So each episode we tell you a story that has been submitted to us.
Yeah.
And so shall we get into the first one?
Yeah. Let's go right in. I'm excited.
Let's dive in.
Okay. So this first story I'm calling, What Does It Mean? With a question mark. There's a lot of questions in this one. Hey guys, just wanted to let you know that I loved the first 3 episodes. Sidebar, I didn't have to read that, but I'm going to read that.
Hey guys.
Hey guys, I just wanted to let you know that I loved my first 3 episodes. That's how uncomfortable I am with with praise, that I have to sneak it in.
Yeah.
Through the
oopsie.
Anyways.
Thank you so much. We really are happy that you enjoy.
Me too. I'm wondering if you can talk about the troubling aspect of connection, which is that connection has the power to bring us closer together, but can also be so hard for us to access and maintain. I bring this up because I've been struggling a lot in my relationship. I really love my partner and I feel connected to them, but sometimes I'm scared I can't maintain it. Does this mean I'm connected or disconnected? What happens when we argue? Does that change our level of connection to each other? Feeling deep gratitude for the opportunity to bring this up, as it's also vulnerable to do. Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Good one, eh?
Wow.
Yeah.
What a brilliant choice.
Yeah.
First of all, but also thank you for submitting this one. This is, there are so many things that resonated for me.
Yeah.
Such a deeper level than just like this idea of connection and disconnection. But first, like, I think something that we forgot to mention was that a lot of the prompts that were submitted actually fell into these kinds of themes, which is a theme about connection to other people and relationships.
Yeah.
And the thing that sticks out for me the most is a very common thing that happens in a relationship, which is this idea of rupture and repair. Have you heard about rupture and repair?
I mean, 5 seconds ago when you said it.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So rupture and repair is a very common thing that happens in a relationship. And so when someone tells me, oh, I feel disconnected in my relationship, I often wonder about what does rupture look like? And so rupture can take many forms. So rupture is like arguments, conflicts, not responding to each other's needs, that kind of thing. Anything that kind of like breaks the relationship apart or kind of like puts people at a distance from one another. So that's what I would call rupture.
Okay.
And then repair is the process of like bringing you back together again. And so repairing the rupture. And so my general rule is that every time there's a rupture in a relationship, there should be some form of repair. And part of the biggest challenge or the biggest point of disconnection in relationships is that there's not enough repair. What are your thoughts when you hear this duality of like, am I disconnected or am I connected when I'm having a conflict or when I'm like seemingly like at odds with my partner?
I don't think a relationship is about maintaining connection. I think when can we recognize once again that this is a relationship I'm with a person who is not me? Therefore, as much as there are similarities, obviously, because we're in a relationship, there's going to be conflict. And when did we decide that conflict was a bad thing?
Right.
I'm not saying abuse.
No.
I am saying conflict, as in contrary
Thank
opinions.
you for naming that.
Okay.
Thank you for naming that. That is so important.
Okay.
You're exactly
so I'm being very like clear with the parameters of what I'm talking about in terms of conflict, because I'm talking about healthy conflict where it's like, hey, we have two contrary opinions and we're going to like argue it out.
Or we can get through it.
But to me, it's like every time there is a rupture, like when has that never not happened with you within a meaningful relationship?
Yeah.
But then isn't like the repair, doesn't it make it that much stronger, the relationship?
Yeah. I'm it's so important that we talk about that element, right? Is that like actually resilience or like growth or strength or like kind of, movement in the relationship, comes from like what that rupture looked like.
Yeah.
And then how you repaired it, how you saw another like transformative option for you, for yourselves in the relationship, right? So repair doesn't have to mean like we return to what it was like before.
Right.
It's actually just like, well, actually we're kind of both going in the same direction here. Like, and we both are kind of at odds for a little bit, or we had this like significant conflict, or we got angry at one another, or we were fighting, or we were disconnected, or whatever it was. And now we're moving forward, right? And so a process of repair, I usually use like the language of an intentional process of repair.
Okay.
Because I do think that there has to be like an intention behind it, and we really should get into the habit of having intentional practices of repair, not just like fake ones, or not just like kind of placating ones where we're just sort of like, like don't worry, we're gonna get through it and it's gonna be fine. Like there can be like really like disingenuous or like really inauthentic practices of repair that
like
happens.
A Band-Aid over a bullet hole type of situation.
Sure, yeah.
Where you're like treat the wound.
Yes.
Treat it so it can heal.
Yes.
Okay.
And in many ways, I think in our language for connection can be more about like pouring salt in the wound as opposed to like actually like responding to the bids for connection and like responding to like the points that like actually need to take place in a relationship.
What are some examples of pouring the salt on the wound?
Passive aggressiveness.
Okay.
I think that like not remaining accountable, like in terms of the piece I mentioned about like responding to bids for connection, we miss bids for connection a lot. So what do I mean by bids for connection? It's things like your partner comes home from work and they look sad and you don't ask them what's wrong. Instead, you ignore them. So that's missing a bid for connection. So a bid for connection may look like, I need something from you and I'm not gonna, I won't be using words to communicate that. Or I may use words, right? There are many ways we can bid for a connection by using words, obviously, or by using language, but they're appearing like to be sad or appearing that like something is different or changed about them. And like you don't actually check in with them. Like that can also be like a missed opportunity and could create rupture in a relationship.
Right. A lot of the ones that you gave were examples of partner A not seeing the needs of partner B. I also want to give the reverse side of maybe partner B not expressing their needs to partner A.
Wow.
When, let's say, partner A just innately doesn't speak their language.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in like, let's get a little bit more specific. Let's talk about like, I hate to bring up the love languages, but let's say if partner's eighth love language is giving gifts.
Yeah.
But partner B's isn't. And partner A is feeling as though they need, I think I switched around my partner in A and B in this metaphor, but whatever, you get it.
Yeah.
I think like partner A never expressed to partner B that like, hey, if you just buy me a gift every now and then, I don't mean like a new PlayStation. I mean like buy me flowers, buy me my favorite PlayStation. If you're listening, actually I don't play PlayStation.
If you're 15 and you want to buy me a PlayStation
and I want to play Halo, is Halo on PlayStation? I don't know. I play Nintendo.
Oh, jeez.
Super Smash Bros. Till I die.
Loyal fan.
I think if partner A, to bring it back to that metaphor, didn't express to partner B like a very simple way that partner B could meet their needs.
Yeah, and I think what you're highlighting too is that like rupture can be like bi-directional, right? Like there can like, we love this idea on this podcast of that both things can be true or more than one thing can be true.
Yeah.
And I
Fight the binary.
Yeah, I think that's what may be happening here, right?
Yeah.
Is that multiple things can actually be true at once. So meaning that both partners, or more than one if that's your relationship pattern
right.
style, both partners can interpret it as a rupture. Right. And let's be very clear what we even mean by relationship. This doesn't just apply to like intimate relationships, right? This happens with friends all the time. This happens with coworkers all the time.
Right.
This happens with family members all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that happens or that's true because rupture is, to your point earlier, a very common feature of relationships.
So that this person, which I find so relatable, is that they're so worried about not having the conflict and not having the rupture.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I have learned, and I'll speak via my own experience, so take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But that I can say is that anytime I've ever had a rupture in a relationship, familial, friendship, romantic, the repair is part of the process of like, oh, this relationship has legs. Because how many relationships have you been in that when you get to the rupture, they have legs for days?
Leg.
But how many relationships have you been in where you're kind of like the first small thing, you're like, I'm out?
Because it was too much or because it was too like...
I think it's the discomfort of being in that rupture phase. Like, and again, I put that with the caveat of like, I'm not talking about abuse.
No.
I'm talking about conflict, having contrary opinions.
A disagreement.
Being disconnected temporarily is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the process of being disconnected can actually be a wonderful gift in a way, because the repair process could be enlightening. You could learn something about your partner in a way that you didn't know before, or your friend or your family member. You could, on your end, you could express a need that, you've been trying to find the opportunity to say it. And here's the perfect opportunity, is like you did X, Y, Z.
I asked this question like from the standpoint of like, how do you know when too much rupture is too much? And I don't ask that question to suggest that we need to work towards an answer, but I bring it forward just to acknowledge that like this is complex, right? And this is not as simple as like, hey, it's okay if you fight with your partner as long as you get through it, right? Like it's not that simple. It's not. It's just simply not. But I think what is interesting that you brought up was this idea that like, there could be an element of trust, or there could be an element of safety that does come from like being able to work through conflict or work through like a hard impasse together. Right. Because I do think that there is like resilience that can also be built out of like kind of getting through tough moments together.
Right. Do you think I was too much of like a fairy tale Disney about it by saying like, we'll work through it together?
Not at all.
No? Okay.
No, not at all. Because I think that the repair process is so unfamiliar for many people.
Yeah.
And that's because a lot of us haven't actually been modeled that, right? And so we need the type of repair process that you're referring to. We need, like, that needs to be built into our relationships that are built on like good ethics or like a good level of love and care for each other.
To wrap this one up, I think we're using rupture and repair, but interchange that with connection and disconnection.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say that disconnection is part of a relationship?
Yeah. And really, like, the takeaway for me is like, how can we normalize rupture as like just a feature of a relationship?
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. And again, I think that we're open to keeping this really fluid and dynamic, right? This isn't to say that this is the only opinion or the only examples of like connection and disconnections like in a relationship, because it shows up so differently for everyone.
Shoot, I thought I knew everything.
I thought I was here to get the answer.
Oh, man.
Darn it.
I thought this was therapy. Imagine.
We'll see you in just a moment.
Okay. Yeah.
This is story number 2, which I'm calling Feeling Safer in Relationships. This reminds me of some wisdom my sister shared with me that she learned through being a parent. In relationships, especially new romantic relationships, I used to be so scared of abandonment that I would panic every time I would argue with someone or do something imperfect that I thought would hurt them or change their view of me. Wow. I would never leave space for hurt or anger, and instead would take responsibility for my feelings and those of the other person, and do everything in my power to undo whatever I thought I had done wrong. My sister invited me to view this through a process of disconnection and then reconnection. Sometimes in relationships, sometimes in relationships, something will happen that will temporarily cause a rift or disconnection between you and the other person, but there will also be opportunities for you to reconnect. This made it easier for me to learn to lean into discomfort, leave space in my relationships for anger and hurt, and then work through them together with my partner. I feel safer in relationships because of it.
It's almost like we set these two up.
Whoa.
Ooh, they very much go hand in hand, don't they?
They really do. And like, I wonder if we can kind of get into what we were talking about before a little bit deeper.
Sure.
Because there's this idea of like that I want to complicate this a little bit more.
Oh,
necessarily though.
okay.
And with a love and a kindness and
Let's get messy.
a kind heart. Yes.
Hold on, let me just put my boots on.
Oh, are we going in the mud again?
My galoshes.
Squeak, 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 squeak.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this idea that I like the way you languaged it earlier, which is this idea that conflict in relationships don't have to be bad, or it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? And
Yeah.
I think what that allows us to do, and what this story highlights, is that it actually allows space for all feelings in the relationship. And I think that we are taught, or a lot of us are taught, that anger in our households or anger in our families, or really big feelings and maybe big aggressive feelings, are bad or unnecessary or unwelcomed or unhealthy. And
Subset, still not talking about abuse though.
right,
Still talking about big feelings, not abuse.
right, because like, and in order to bring in that, like, the lens of abuse, I think we can also talk about accountability for the person who's abusing.
Okay.
Right? So we have the person who may be experiencing these big feelings, and who's to say that they don't experience it as abuse, right? Because some people do and some people don't. But I think what's important to sort of name is that, like, when conflict is chronic, that's different. When like conflict is actually like helpful and like necessary for like progression in a relationship.
And we're talking about the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like where there's this idea of like the presence of a rift doesn't necessarily have to signal the end of a relationship, right? Or the presence of a disagreement doesn't necessarily have to signal the end. And I think this goes back to what we also spoke about earlier around this idea of like performance and niceness and kind of keeping things conflict free. I just think that's just not going to help people, right? I'm worried that further keeps people in a relationship at odds, right? Is by pretending that everything's okay when it's not.
Yeah.
And I think that many people, and I'm thinking about a lot of women especially, a lot of people in this world that have to either bite their tongue or are not allowed to sort of talk back or are not allowed to share their honest and true thoughts or feelings about something.
Yeah.
For fear that when they contribute to the conflict, then they're contributing to like a toxic relationship. And allowing space for honest feelings, while it may sometimes create rupture, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Because again, if we have this idea that all feelings are welcome, then we have to make space for anger. We have to make space for hurt. It's okay to feel angry, but when you act angry, that can create a different result for people. And so,
what do you mean by that?
well, sometimes when we're acting angry, like we are actually hurting other people, right? So that is where I would say that can be abusive.
Okay.
Is if we're acting angry, like physical harm, right? But acting angry can also be like emotional harm, so like put downs and stuff like that, or even just using like passive aggressiveness in a relationship.
Okay.
I come at this from the perspective of always believing survivors. I'm always like when we're talking about like an abusive relationship, for example, I'm always going to believe survivors that tell me that, hey, this was my experience. I'm always going to believe them.
Right.
I think that what can also be true is that there are people who are in a relationship who that isn't their relationship pattern, right? So there are people who maybe just have like fights about like who's doing the dishes, or like fights about who has to take the dog out. Mm-hmm. To speak to my own.
Are you offloading right now? Who does the laundry?
I think we know that answer. No, we both do laundry. But I think what we're talking about is really just trying to normalize this idea that conflict does not have to be bad, number one. And then number two, disconnection is allowed. Like it's okay if you need time apart, or it's okay if you need like time to kind of recharge.
I also look at disconnection time from a relationship as a chance to, or an opportunity to connect with yourself. Because I think of all the times that I've ever been felt that way. And like, it's obviously not, the language you don't use is like, yes, I feel disconnected.
Right.
It's like,
thank you.
I'm angry. Or, wow, this person sucks.
Yes.
Or like, fuck you.
Or like go away. Yeah.
Go away. Like, I just need to be alone.
Yeah.
Like, all of the different languages which is just, I feel disconnected.
Yeah.
I think of all of those times, the repair process, I guess, of the relationship always comes from like reconnecting with self and understanding like, what was it that person did that upset me? Because sometimes it's easy to name.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes it's simple as like, well, you didn't do the dishes and I told you 100 times to do the dishes.
Yeah.
And what is that? It's like, well, you're not listening to me. I feel invalidated. Or the opposite which is like, I feel like a parent and this is not I'm not your parent. Right. Like there's ways that we can find out about these things. And I feel like almost going back to the story and about how the sister was like, no, like these disconnected moments are great chances to reconnect. I kind of want to sit in that for a second of like,
yeah,
how that could be a necessary gift. Yeah, I keep saying gift, but it's a necessary like tool. Chance to check tool. Yeah. Tool to check in. Because so much of a relationship is about like the duality of it, right? Like it's like, how many times is it like Matt and Jake? Mm-hmm. How many times is it just Jake?
Yep.
How many times is it just Matt? It's a chance for you to say like, hold on a second. How much of me has gotten caught up in like the minutia of like the relationship patterns of who does what and the habits of like our environment.
Yep. Or how like am I like living out my old like family patterns, or like my own expectations about like what I think relationships have to be.
Have a second to like reconnect with yourself and understand what it is your needs and all of those things are. So that then you can like, during the repair process, you can step forward and be like, aha, these are the things that I want different.
Oh, I love that. I love that because you also mentioned like reconnecting with yourself as an intentional practice of repair, right? So like maybe if the other person isn't ready to be a part of that repair process, you can at least reconnect with yourself.
Yeah. And I keep going back to our first story about how the person kept using the word maintaining connection with their partner and such this fear of disconnecting, the placating of partner's needs is like putting that mask on of having to, well, I don't want a conflict, so therefore I'm going to appease this thing. I'm gonna swallow this and we're gonna move forward. Like, do you know what I mean? Like these things that we all naturally as humans, because we fucking suck at like feeling and vocalizing our needs and our wants in ways that are like thoughtful.
Yes. Yeah. It's so messy, right? That's hard to do.
What I'm learning through this process is like, there is a relationship is not like a constant line. It is like, it is breaks. It is pausing. It is like, it's not this train that needs to be moving forward all the time. It can stop at a couple stations. We can get off, we can pause, we can stop for repair. Right? We can refuel. We can take on new passengers.
I love it.
We
It's like
can
a
set
bus.
a new destination.
Yes, exactly. So when this person is asking, well, does that mean I'm connected or disconnected? Like, unfortunately, it actually means that
It
you're
means
both.
both.
Yeah. And the both comes with the struggle of having to figure out when and how and why and for what. It's all those like questions around like, okay, well, do I like this? Like, is this helping me? Is this something that I want to keep happening?
Right.
Anyway, of course, as with all these topics, this is not a complete thought. This is just a snippet of sort of our hot takes on connection and disconnection in relationships.
Yeah.
Should we take a sec?
Choo choo. That's me hopping on the train. Choo choo.
Here we are about to kind of make it like a little bit lighter, add a little bit more levity, add a little bit more hope. So I put out a prompt on my Instagram page that is something that I really liked. I really enjoyed doing this specific one. I do a lot of prompts, but this one, the question was, what is something that is always going to make you feel good?
Yeah. So we're just gonna, change it up a bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna rapid fire read some out. So you go first.
This one says a bath, hugging friends and family, and laughing my face off.
Yeah. Gail and my partner, we were talking about this the other day where we were like, okay, when there's a bit or a joke and you just laugh about it for days and then thinking about it just makes you laugh.
Yeah.
I felt like as though we had this, and it was a very light conversation. We were like, we haven't had that in a while.
Yeah.
And I think that's, a result of like everything that's going on in the world too as well. But I recognize that feeling and how good that is to just laugh about something, like a good laugh, a good cry.
And connect, right? Like,
Yeah. This one says a nap.
it's so simple. That always makes
Let's talk about it.
That always makes me feel good.
Me too.
Do you nap?
It's hard for me to nap short. Let me
nap.
Hold on.
Sure.
Grammar.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Grammar.
Yeah.
Let me hold on a
sure.
second.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to take a short nap. For me, my naps are an hour and a half or 3 hours.
Okay, so you sleep. So you sleep.
So I go dormant.
So you hibernate then.
So I hibernate for a hot second.
So I have this like weird like hotspot where it's like I love a nap. I love napping. It's just the best. But my naps are usually like 20 minutes to an hour. And if it's longer than an hour, then I feel like shit after. Like I feel sick. I'm sharing a lot about my personal sleeping habits. So
thanks for bragging.
Yeah.
There are two types of people in the world: those who can take power naps and those who cannot.
This person says that cuddling a cat and listening to the purring.
Sensory.
I love that. You know what? So I just read this article and I don't know if it's true. So preface with, I don't know if it's true.
Okay.
But I read an article that was saying that cats, they lay on your tummy and they purr because they think that it heals you.
Oh.
They are like trying to heal you like with their purr. And so first of all, I am not a cat owner. So if you are a cat owner or you are a cat aficionado, let us know if your cats purr on your tummies.
Okay, imagine you were a cat aficionado and not a cat owner. That would be so hard.
That would be hard and probably
Imagine you couldn't have a cat.
Both and. Okay,
Both and.
Simon.
Okay, yes, and.
Imagine being a cat aficionado. Imagine owning a cat cafe and then
Being allergic to cats.
being allergic. Yeah. What do you have?
I have a quiet Saturday at home. I relate to that.
Yeah, tell me why. Because this is not a quiet Saturday for us.
No. I love alone time. This is why I love mornings so much. I'm not a person to
too.
lay in bed.
Me too.
It's when I wake up, I'm out of bed.
Love.
And sometimes I'll listen to the radio in the morning, but sometimes I just like it quiet. I'm not a big person. Like, I could drive without music. I can shower without music. I can do all these things that it's like I don't have to fill time or space with noise to feel comforted. I actually enjoy the quietness and the awayness. I mean, with the pandemic, it obviously feels very different because we're forced to be that a little bit more frequently.
Yeah.
So it feels less like a treat. But when you get to have those moments, I definitely relate to that.
Yeah. A nice old solitude or some private retreat. I love it.
Do you want to do one final one?
Yes. This one says,
Bring us home.
Swinging in a hammock under the trees. Wow. That is like relaxation central.
Can we just talk about how all of these are very sensory?
Yeah. I was noticing that too, that a lot of people access feeling good through their sensory. Of course. Yeah. And, you know, from an earlier discussion, that's also our senses are how we experience the world. So it makes sense that is how we would access like feeling good. But interestingly enough, our emotional memories are the ones that actually last the longest. So like, if you think about like a smell from childhood or like a memory from childhood or like a sound from childhood that makes you feel good, a memory from childhood, it's likely going to be a sensory experience.
100%.
So like the smell of a fair or like,
yeah. Oh, I definitely have
like
those where
those
I smell something and I'm like, I'm taken back.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a raven. I just had a vision.
yeah.
For those who grew up in the early.
Well, I just had that would be forward, but
okay, I'm done.
yeah,
I'm done.
it's over.
It's over. Officially,
We've made it.
Officially, this is the
made it.
final episode of This Isn't Therapy.
This is it.
We've made it to the end of the 5th episode. Thank you all for making it this far. Thank you so much for listening. If you did like this, it helps us out a lot if you could rate it, subscribe, like it, all that fun stuff. And even better, we encourage you to share it with someone because sharing is what?
Caring.
Yeah.
Fundamental.
Yeah, I know. I set it up to be that way. Anyways.
Oh, geez. Simon, where can people find you if they want to get in touch? Why would they?
Why would you want? I'm a soggy blanket. No, just kidding. I don't know.
Ew.
Yum. You can get in touch with me on Instagram at directed by Simon.
And Instagram only.
And Instagram only.
Just so we're clear.
Just so we're clear, I don't exist anywhere else in the world.
No.
No. Okay, so that's the end of the episode. Imagine I didn't ask you. Where can people find you?
Oh, geez. People can find me crying in a bathtub because I love to have a bath.
And so those are the tears of joy.
I love having a bath. Yes, I mainly because I just like being in water. That's actually part of why I like having a bath. But that's where people could find me. Although I would prefer if you didn't.
Yeah, I don't think you should put a call out for that.
Yeah. You can find me on all my social media pages at MSWJake. And then we can hang out and connect.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you came.
And you grab a gift bag on your way out.
All right, bye.
Bye. Should we get gift bags?
Yeah.
What would be in our gift bag?